Lineups for the Cincinnati Reds. Joey Votto back for about 3 weeks now from his stint on the disabled list and tearing it up since he's returned. Jerry Hairston Jr. filling in for the injured Alex Gonzalez at shortstop. Edwin Encarnacion back from 2 months on the disabled list for a Cincinnati team that has struggled this year to score runs.
Well, this is a big start for Fernando Nieve, of course. Struggled in his last start with those 6 walks. But was a beautiful, pleasant surprise for the Mets in those first 3 starts. 3-2 so far on this season. 6-6 in his career. Well, many changes, of course, for the defense playing behind Fernando Nieve this evening. The Lexus Mets defense. Tatis goes to left field. Reed to right with Church gone. Pagan back in the lineup in center field. Right, Cora Reyes and Murphy Castillo getting the night off. Argenis Reyes playing at second base. And Brian Schneider doing the catching.
Jeremy Reed was going to be in the lineup anyway. He was going to play left field tonight. The Mets making the deal with the Braves just less than an hour before the start of tonight's game. And there's Angel Pagan, who last played a game for the Mets on May 31st. Hurt his groin running after a fly ball, and it is a very pleasant occurrence for him to be back.
Yeah, and he did it here at this ballpark, chasing a line drive in left center.
Chris Dickerson will lead things off for the Reds. Dickerson's been hot with the bat lately, getting a start in right field. Jay Bruce, who normally plays right for the Reds, getting a couple of nights off for Cincinnati because he has really been struggling. Sat last night, and Dusty Baker has him out of the lineup tonight, so Dickerson is out there. And the first pitch of the night from Nieve is up and away for ball 1. And what plagued Fernando, particularly against the Phillies his last time out, he was behind everybody.
He is throwing less than 50% first pitch strikes, which is just a bad way to go. And if you think about it, it really has happened in his last 2 starts, because his first 3, the one thing you would say about him is, boy, what an aggressive pitcher going right after the hitters.
Two and 1 to Dickerson, playing his first full year in the big leagues. 27 years old, not related to the great Eric Dickerson. However, his father, Sam Dickerson, did play in the NFL. There's been a lot of reports that he was related to Eric Dickerson, but he's not. This is one Fallon is doing too.
He was related to a Dickerson who played football. It just happened to be his father.
There you go.
But he's a physical specimen, this Dickerson.
Well, he can run. We saw that in Cincinnati when the Mets were there to open the season. Seems like a long time ago, doesn't it? I guess it was. That's won 2 out of 3 in Cincinnati to begin the season back in April. 2-2 from Nieve, and it's fouled away.
Well, both these teams, to tell you the truth, have a lot in common. They've really been banged up. They're having a hard time scoring runs. I will say, though, the Cincinnati Reds have pitched a little better than the Mets have the last 10 games or so.
And particularly the Reds bullpen has been very good. If they can get the game late, they've got 4 or 5 guys out there who are having terrific years, led by their all-star closer, Francisco Cordero. 3-2 now to Dickerson.
They got some nice veterans out there, too, and David Weathers and Arthur Rhodes, who's having a very nice year.
The Reds, like the Mets, are at a point right now where they're kind of tipping in their own division. 3-2 from Nieve, and Dickerson walks to lead off the game. Met pitchers have been walking an inordinate number of hitters. The last 3 games before tonight, 25 walks issued by Met pitchers.
And what's really alarming is we take a look at Dusty Baker, talking about those Dodger coaches last night. Dusty was a pretty fine player himself. What's really alarming is they've happened here at Citi Field, Gary. And this is a ballpark. If you can't throw strikes in this ballpark, you'll never throw strikes. This is a park to take a chance when it's 2-1, 3-1.
Willie Taveras, the speedy center fielder, lines one down the left field line, and it goes foul. The Mets have fallen 5.5 games out of first place in the East. That's the furthest they've been out of first place all year. The Reds, meanwhile, have fallen 4.5 games out in the Central, and that's the furthest they've been out of first place all year. So both teams are still in it, but both are kind of at that rocking point. Do we make a move, or are moves behind us? Taveras drops down a bunt, and Schneider guns it to first in time to get the speedy Taveras. Taveras, who is always bunting for a base hit, will nonetheless get credit for a sacrifice. 2-3, moving Dickerson to second.
Well, how you know that it is not a sacrifice is that you can tell that he was out of the box trying to bunt for a base hit. And in the world now of baseball, if you lay one down, there's a guy in first, doesn't matter how many outs there are, 0 or 1, you're going to get a sacrifice bunt.
And will be tied an official score goes the other way. Probably get a phone call. Here's Joey Votto, the best hitter by far on this Cincinnati team, and he takes a strike. Votto hitting at .354, 10 homers, 41 RBIs, but he's had only 192 at bats because he spent 3 weeks on the disabled list and had some problems even before he went on the DL with dizziness that turned out to be anxiety related. Good breaking ball by Nieve, and it's 0-2. But Votto's been back for about 3 weeks and has picked it up right where he left off. So when he's been able to play, he has been fantastic.
Well, we've seen that happen with Khalil Green with the St. Louis Cardinals, Johnny Damon with the New York Yankees.
To Votto, low and inside, and knocked down by Schneider to keep Dickerson from moving.
Well, I just love the way that Brian Schneider wants that ball down. If you call for it down as a catcher, you're going to make sure that you put your body in front of that baseball, got it right in that chest protector to deaden it, and kept it in front. All the things you have to do. Perfect by Schneider right there.
Votto hangs in there at 1-2. That's what Votto's done since coming back from the disabled list.
Well, he had a fantastic rookie season last year. And after that first series, the Mets faced him. I think you and I both looked at each other and said, boy, this guy is going to have a huge year. And he is, but of course, those stops and starts because of the stress problems.
Well, Votto had a huge series against the Mets in Cincinnati. He went 7 for 13 in that opening series, drove in 7 runs. Hit a couple of home runs, a couple of 3-run shots, one off Mike Pelfrey, one off Oliver Perez. Nieve working hard on Votto, 2-2, and the curveball misses, and a full count to Votto with Brendan Phillips waiting on deck. Mets have been giving up early runs in droves. And Votto takes a call, third strike. Nieve painting the outside corner, and Jim Reynolds punches out Votto for the second out.
Well, Votto can't complain here. That's too good of a pitch. That ball looks like a strike to me on the corner. And even if it isn't, what is it, 1 inch, 2 inches outside? No one has that good of an eye, and you got to protect the plate when it's close.
Too close to take. And Votto continuing to fume as he heads back to the dugout. So 2 out, and now Brandon Phillips will come to bat. Phillips, who pretty much carried the Reds while Votto was out of the lineup. He's having a nice year, not his best, but 14 home runs, and he's in the top 10 in the league with those 58 runs batted in. And he takes a low and away ball 1.
Always seems to be a Mets killer too, isn't he, Brandon Phillips?
Not only offensively, but defensively as well. A terrific defensive second baseman. There are his career numbers against the Mets. 25 RBIs in only 23 games. And Nieve falls behind him 2-0. There are your umpires for tonight. Reynolds, Hoy, Welke, and Welke. Tim Welke, the crew chief, the older brother.
Last crew needed to get out of New York, by the way.
Change of scenery?
Yes.
Popped up into shallow right. Argenis Reyes calling, and that retires the side. So after the leadoff walk, Nieve gets through the opening inning, and the Mets come to bat with no score. Here's your Geico Mets starting lineup for tonight. Angel Pagan, first start since May the 31st. Jeremy Reed moves into the 5-hole with the trade of Ryan Church. Fernando Tatis, who wasn't supposed to start, is back in there. And a rare start for Argenis Reyes as Luis Castillo gets the day off.
Well, Bronson Arroyo, the Mets saw him in that first series. He's kind of been their ace for this team, but really has struggled in the last 3 starts, 8 and 8. He's really had the same kind of starts as Livan Hernandez has had the last couple.
Well, Angel Pagan was a breath of fresh air for the Mets for the 2 weeks that he's been healthy this season. Began the year on the disabled list because of an elbow injury. Lifts this one toward the gap in left center. Slicing over is Willie Taveras with a dive, and he makes the catch. Tremendous play by Willie Taveras, who had a long way to run to make that diving grab for the first out.
Well, great athletic skill here by Taveras. If he did not have this speed, no chance to catch this drive from Pagan. And that was, I think I got it, as he was racing across. Pagan does play a nice center field. Doesn't have much of an arm, but covers a lot of ground.
Well, Taveras can just fly. And he took an extra base hit away from Pagan in his first at bat back from the DL. Now Alex Cora hitting second in the order, and he takes the changeup outside. I was going to say about Pagan, 6 weeks on the disabled list with an elbow injury after missing most of last year with a shoulder injury. And then 6 weeks on the disabled list with a groin injury. If he can stay healthy, he can be quite a piece for the Mets, especially with Beltran out for the long term. And how long that term is, we still have no idea. A strike to Cora.
The problem is that a piece becomes a cure-all for the Mets right now. Looking for anyone to get hot.
Grounded out to Brandon Phillips. And Cora retired, 2 away. Well, we were talking about Angel Pagan. He was in the lineup for the last time, May 31st against the Marlins, and trying to make this play hold up lame. A right groin injury. I talked to Angel before the game today about the injury, and he said one thing that he's learned is that what might have contributed to the fact that he was vulnerable to that kind of pull was that he was drinking too much caffeine and getting too dehydrated. So he's cut down on the caffeine, and now he's drinking water all the time. Here's Daniel Murphy, who bounces one past the mound. And Phillips in with the sidearm toss to get Murphy, and in the inning. So a 1-2-3 opening inning for Bronson Arroyo, who's been struggling in first innings, but not tonight. Off to the second, no score. Run the bases at Citi Field following the Mets afternoon game against the Reds this Sunday with the Mr. Met Dash for all kids 12 and under, presented by Nestle Drumstick. For tickets, visit Mets.com or call 718-507-TIXX. Well, just as Fernando Nieve went to the mound to get ready for the second inning, the umpires and Jerry Manuel letting him know that he needed to change his glove.
Change the glove because it's too light. That's the problem, although I think those ugly red gloves should be outlawed before that glove is outlawed. But they're going to go get his second glove if he has one. A lot of pitchers I know do not have two gloves. They usually just have one, and that's going to make a difference maybe if he has to make a fielding play.
And so everybody's going to have to wait around until they find another glove for Fernando Nieve to use.
I used to always make Buddy Harrelson break one in spring training. That'd be my gamer. And then during the season, I'd give him another one to use during the batting practice. So he'd always have two.
Speaking of colored gloves, what color glove do you think Pedro is going to bring if he goes to Philadelphia?
Oh, the red one. The red one will be featured.
No word on that. Apparently Pedro threw a second session for the Phillies today.
Like 2 days in a row?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they wanted to see, whether he could retain his velocity back to back.
How healthy he is, yeah.
But no word yet whether there's any deal that's done between Pedro and the Phillies. Lance Nix will lead off for the Reds in the second inning. Nix playing left field. He started about half the games for the Reds this year. 28-year-old former Texas Ranger, Milwaukee Brewer, hitting a .249 on the year. And attacks the first pitch and fouls off the fastball from Nieve. 93 from Fernando.
Well, this should be an advantage for Fernando Nieve because, as you and I were talking about before, this Cincinnati Reds team likes to swing early and often, very aggressive.
They draw very few walks. Their team on base percentage is .318, which is the third lowest in the National League. Up and away to Nix, 1-1. It'll be Nix, then Edwin Encarnacion and Jerry Hairston Jr. for the Reds in the second. Cincinnati 2 games under .500. They've fallen into 5th place in the National League Central. But they've been hanging around all year. They hung around through a serious injury to Edwin Encarnacion, their third baseman. He was out for 2 months. Their regular shortstop, Alex Gonzalez, has been out for a significant period of time with elbow issues. They're without Edison Volquez, one of their top starters, because of an elbow problem. Swing and a foul tip held by Schneider, and Nix down swinging for the first out of the inning. Second strikeout for Nieve.
This is almost like watching the old Nieve. You see the inside pitch work the count because of throwing less than 50% first pitch strikes. Go right-handers. In his last 2 starts, right-handers have been 10 for 16 so far against Fernando Nieve. And the pressure's on, I believe. With Maine starting to round into shape, Jerry gave a timetable that he thinks that he might be ready in the latter part of the month of July. And that puts a lot of pressure, I think, on Fernando Nieve and others to perform up to their max.
And Ron's inside pitch, part of the business of baseball, brought to you by Xerox, ready for real business. Encarnacion, 8th game back from the disabled list. He was out with a chip fracture in his ankle. And they probably brought him back a little early because they had 2 young players filling in for him, both of whom messed up their shoulders making headfirst slides. And both have gone on the disabled list. Breaking ball fouled away. Encarnacion, a guy who even in the best of times has tended to be an enigma for the Reds.
Well, he's a guy with some power that has a big swing, so he's going to strike out a lot. And he sometimes falls into, what do you say nicely, he just, he'll lose his concentration out on the field because he can be a fantastic glove man.
And it's in there for a call, strike 3. Good slider from Nieve, gets Encarnacion looking. Back-to-back strikeouts for Nieve to start the second.
Well, this is a curveball that hangs up in the middle of the plate. Jim Reynolds calls it a strike. Definitely gets most of the plate. I think it just fooled Encarnacion. He thought it was up in the strike zone.
So 2 out and nobody on. Now Jerry Hairston Jr., who's been a utility man throughout his big league career, and he's filling in at shortstop these days, which is probably not his best position. 33-year-old veteran takes a strike.
I know he's called an infielder, outfielder. I think he's more of an outfielder. If he plays infield, maybe second base.
Jerry's brother Scott was just dealt from San Diego to Oakland, where he's getting a chance to play every day. Pair of third-generation big leaguers. Line to right, and in front of it, Reed makes the dive, and it rolls off his glove. Hairston heads for second and then thinks better of it. Slams on the brakes and goes back to first. Good effort by Reed. Couldn't quite get there, and most importantly, kept it from going behind him.
Well, in the 0-2 pitch, not the pitch that Nieve wants to throw, driven to right, but watch Jeremy Reed. You see how he had that little hesitation where he couldn't really pick up the baseball, and then when he came in, finally had the dive for it and just twisted out of his glove. Here's a guy who's played a lot of center, he's played a lot of left field, he's played less right field, and a misread there on that baseball.
Well, starting tomorrow, the Mets will have a new right fielder, and Jeff Francoeur is a guy who plays every day, or at least he did in Atlanta. Very, very rarely missed a game. Here's Ryan Hannigan, the Reds rookie catcher, who's had a terrific, surprising year at the plate, hitting at .333.
We'll see how it goes. You ever been on those flights from Atlanta to LaGuardia? Good luck.
Well, he's coming from Denver.
Oh, he is? Okay, good.
The Braves were.
Better shot.
It's a very nice airport, Denver, by the way. Just nowhere near Denver. There's your Coors Light freeze cam.
Wow, great work, guys. In the end of that glove and just jarred loose when he hit the ground. Nice try by Jeremy.
That is a great shot.
Oh, unbelievable. You can see the grimace on his face, the grass coming up.
And the ball was in the glove, at least in slow motion, for a long time.
That's right.
2-0 to Hannigan, and a throw over at Hairston, who could steal the bases back. Hairston has 7 steals in 9 tries this year. And he'll take a moment to readjust.
Oh boy, don't pull a Lyons now.
I was just about to say Steve Lyons was just here the last few days.
Don't pull a Lyons. There we go. No, okay, good.
He just belt only.
All right. Good. For you people at home, Steve Lyons, of course, player with the White Sox and other teams. Similar situation there, but he decided to disrobe a little to get the dirt out of his pants.
That's how you get the nickname Psycho.
Yes.
You don't get it.
It's not unwarranted.
You don't get those things lightly.
Well, you can get them lightly, but if they stick, that's when you know you got a real good reason.
Yeah. 2-1 to Hannigan. To right field, and Reed coming in to get it. Side retired. Good inning for Fernando Nieve with a couple of strikeouts. To the bottom of the second, David Wright to lead off with no score. Folks from the Guinness World Record book are in the house today to witness The greatest mass potato chip crunching in history, the Wise Big City Crunch. And all the fans were provided with Wise potato chips. And at the appointed moment, on the instruction of Jose Reyes on the big scoreboard, they all crunched.
Well, I think some of our younger fans did a great job, because holding out for 2 innings with potato chips sitting in your lap, well, that's tough.
It's very interesting that you say that, Ronnie, because I've got one of the bags here, and it says on it, do not open until the middle of the 2nd inning. It's kind of like the tag on the mattress that says do not remove under penalty of law.
But that for a kid, that makes it worse. Like, you want to defy authority. You want to open that up. You don't think Keith Hernandez would open that bag up when he was 10?
Wait a second, 10? How about now? David Wright leading off the home second. David with a pair of 2-hit games in the last 2 nights. So it looks like David may be pointed back in the upward direction. Average up to 328 on the year, 6th in the National League. First time he's had multi-hit games since almost a month ago, when he had 6 consecutive multiple-hit games during that incredible hot streak. One and 2 from Arroyo.
Arroyo, who's given up 21 home runs so far this season, but the ballpark he pitches in is a tough one.
Hit hard, but right at the shortstop Hairston. And a low throw handled by Votto for the first out. So a hard hit ball, but Wright retired.
Well, here's the Reds defense. Taveras playing his 7th game, bookended by Nixon Dickerson, Encarnacion, Hairston Jr., Phillips, of course, who won a Gold Glove last season, Votto at first base, and Ryan Hannigan has done a nice job behind the plate. 59 errors. It's a very strange mask. One of those hockey type masks.
Here's Jeremy Reed hitting 5th in the order, and he takes the curveball low inside. Well, it looked as though Jeremy Reed was going to be in for a lot more playing time. That plan may change again with the acquisition of Frank Kerr. Up and away, and it's 2-0.
It's Frank Kerr and Pagan.
Right.
Yeah, Pagan coming back. You know, chances he's going to be the everyday center fielder.
Right, and that leaves Sheffield in left field, and only an occasional assignment for Reed to spell him. Because before the trade, it looked as though Reed was going to be in for a lot more playing time. But plans change day to day right now, and right now that's just trying to fill out the best lineup card they can on a daily basis.
Well, the only way it could really work in Jeremy Reed's favor, but it doesn't. Pagan's a better left-handed hitter than he is right-handed hitter.
Popped up on the left side, and Hairston trailing out. And stays with it for the 2nd out.
And what do I mean by that? Well, if he was a better right-handed hitter, then maybe they could platoon in center field and he would get more opportunity. But Pagan, a better left-handed hitter.
I think also the energy that Pagan provided for the 2 weeks that he was here in late May, when Beltran was banged up and missing some games, and Pagan was filling in center field. I think that really caught the Mets' eye. And, you know, you don't want to overstate the case, but he was a big plus for the time he was healthy, and they're going to get a good look and see whether he can keep that going. Here's Tatis who takes a strike.
Gary, I totally agree with the energy he brings. The only problem is that this is an organization that preaches that if you play well, you're going to play again. And that hasn't really worked for Jeremy Reed. He's done everything they've asked him to do, including his last start. Nice catch and rebound.
Well, the last 14 games, the Mets offense has disappeared. Their starting pitching has been dreadful. They haven't played good defense, and well, that's why they lost 10 of their last 13.
It's called the trifecta.
And there's Angel Pagan, who has been itching to get back. Popped up, and Brandon Phillips waiting for it. And Arroyo easily through the Mets. The first 2 innings, he's retired the first 6 to face him. We go to the 3rd. Fernando Nieves back to the mound.
Beautiful sunset in New York tonight, and we are here at Citi Field. Mets trying to go into the All-Star break with some momentum here against the Reds. And, well, of course, the big news today is the trade. If you've just tuned in, the Mets and Braves swapping right fielder for right fielder. Ryan Church on his way out, and Jeff Francoeur on his way to New York. He will be here tomorrow night and in the lineup, I would think, tomorrow night against the Reds. And, in fact, I just got off the phone with Francoeur. I gave him a call and just gauged his reaction. And, you know, a couple of things. First of all, he was shocked. Same way Ryan Church was before. He just didn't see it coming. But he was really excited. And I had talked to Francoeur before, guys, about playing in New York. And even though he's a local guy, you know, playing in Atlanta in front of the hometown fans, you know, this year, in years past, he's always talked about being intrigued about playing here because he loves the energy here. Every time he comes here, he loves taking the field. So I asked him, you know, other than being surprised, what was your reaction? He's like, well, I was surprised, but then I was really excited. And I called my wife, and she was excited. Just, you know, he's like, I play with a lot of energy. And I think, you know, getting out in front of those fans, getting a chance to go out and play and get some doubles in those gaps and show off my arm and get a chance to really get involved in that New York scene. He said, I'm really, really looking forward to it. And he said, you know what, a fresh start isn't such a bad thing. You know, as much as I love playing in Atlanta, he said, I'm just really looking forward to fresh new start here in New York. And guys, you can just tell he's really, just hearing his tone over the phone, pretty excited about it. So I think it'll be fun for him tomorrow night. He said the one thing that'll be strange, he's like, we're right back in Atlanta on Thursday. A little strange coming for 2 games and going right back, but deal with that when we get there, I suppose, guys.
It will be a little strange. He'll have to figure out which clubhouse to head to when the Mets return from the All-Star break in Atlanta. Leadoff hit for Bronson Arroyo. Chris Dickerson, the batter, and he fouls it away.
Ryan Church has a sublet that's open, Gary.
Well, it's interesting because this clearly was a deal that came very quickly and surprised everybody, including the players involved. When you get into these weeks before the trading deadline, there is so much written by so many quote-unquote baseball insiders about speculation about this deal and that deal. But it seems as though most of the time the deals that happen are things that nobody talked about. And here was one that came together very quickly for Omar Minaya and Frank Wren. And that's what Ryan Church accomplished. And who knows what more he would have accomplished if not for the concussions that shortened his season and ruined his year last year.
Almost ended his career.
And what terrible irony that Church is going to the place where he suffered the concussion that really put that dent in his season.
It's when his head hit the knee of Janelle Escobar at second base on a double play attempt.
Arroyo, the base runner, no threat to be going. Murphy cuts it off, gets the out at second. Cora to first, but not in time. Nieve didn't get to the bag, and Dickerson just with tremendous speed. So they get the 3-6 force on Arroyo for the first out.
Well, this is a play that I watch Daniel Murphy make every single day. He works extremely hard before the game on that play right there, making sure that he's aggressive to the ball and that he gets the baseball to Cora as quickly as possible. Nice play by Daniel. And the key for a pitcher when you're getting over there first on that play is that you have to run harder than you've ever run, and you're always taught to make that little line to get to first base. You really almost want to take a direct line to get there early so that ball, you get more time to see that ball come at you.
It almost seemed as though Nieve was turning to find the ball before he found the bag.
That's a good way to get hit in the squash, I'll tell you. I mean, it's better when you teach most pitchers, you want to kind of have a little circle when you get to first so you stay inside the bag. On that play, you want to go get there as quick as you can and brace up against that bag and work your way towards the throw.
Dickerson, a base stealing threat. He has 6 in 8 tries this year. Willie Taveras sacrificed his first time up. Taveras has been swinging the bat well lately, hitting .340 over his last 11 games. It has been a disappointing year for Taveras so far in Cincinnati.
Well, you'll see how he goes. Here comes Nieve. See, he's not hustling right away. He should have read that right off the bat and sprinted to first base. But
and you could see he was angry with himself.
He was angry with himself, absolutely. He knew that he could have gotten there, and you're always trying to get an extra out.
Dickerson runs. Schneider's throw right on the money, and he got him. What a great throw by Brian Schneider to gun down Dickerson for the second out.
Well, this is why these catchers work endlessly on their footwork and the release of the ball. Watch the footwork here. This ball is gone so quickly from Schneider, and just an absolute pee and on the nose. Can't make a better play than that by Schneider, and the tag, of course, by Alex Cora.
So 2 out and nobody on. A 1-0 count to Taveras. And that's in at the knees for a strike. 1-1. Schneider just, even though his balance wasn't great, his footwork was perfect.
When you are going against really fine base stealers and fast guys, you would love to have perfect footwork, and you'd love to have a perfect arm and good balance. You just can't. You know that your time is limited. So it's almost, you get your footwork going, and whatever way your body's going, try to adjust with that arm.
2-2 to Taveras. The Mets have done a pretty good job controlling the running game this year.
They really have. I think that's been one of their strengths. Their pitchers, for the most part, Santana, Ivan Hernandez, some of the veterans, Pelfrey with that slide step, has done a nice job. So they've been able to control that.
In there for a call, strike 3. Taveras down looking at the slider. That's 4 strikeouts for Fernando Nieve. His night is going well. Brian Schneider with the good caught stealing, and still no score. Bottom of the third after this terrific throw. The Home Depot doing more on defense.
Well, what helped is that ball is up in the strike zone, so it raises Brian up. But the thing you'll see, watch the recoil from throwing this ball so hard. Brian will throw it and knocks him back 2 or 3 steps. And the key here for Alex is the Coors Light Freeze Cam is the slide tag. That sweep tag is very important. Why? For you guys at home, if you lay that hand down and keep it there, the runner's going to slide into you with his entire body, and there's a chance to jar the ball loose. Sweep tag and get your hand out of there with the baseball.
Brian Schneider takes a strike. It's interesting how the state of the art on tag plays has changed. We've talked about how the umpires have changed because of replay, and because of that, middle infielders have to attack a little differently. Buddy Harrelson used to always teach the middle infielders to take the glove and slam it down on the base and then bring it up. And the presumption was because the ball beat the runner that he'd get the call, even if by slamming on the base you missed the runner. But that's changed.
Yeah, the whole thing was if the ball beat you. So by slamming it down the base, a couple things happen. One, slamming on the base, it shows that the ball beat him even by more. And secondly, you never have to tag the person, so no problem with that, and the ball jarred out. There used to also be the catchers used to also do a thing they don't do anymore. They used to catch the baseball when the runner was coming from third, and they would hold it in their bare hand, make the sweep tag with their glove with no ball, and then show the ball to the umpire who would call them out. They don't do that either.
You know whose fault that is? Ours. The replays are too good. Curveball outside to Schneider, 3-2.
And Tony Lanny, who's our director tonight, he showed me that mask on Hannigan. This is another thing they do different, is that the catchers nowadays, when runners are coming, they don't take their masks off. The old timers would take the mask, throw it aside, because they wanted to have an even better view of that ball coming from the outfield.
Which is kind of counterintuitive. You could have understood in the old days when people used to run catchers over that you'd want to keep the mask on, but now nobody runs over catchers.
Well, you hear people say all the time, well, we've got to catch 95-mile-an-hour fastballs with the mask on. Why wouldn't we catch it with the mask on with a throw? This is a throw that's bouncing. It's one that you don't usually see. You know, it's better to take off that mask, but, you know, it's easy for me to say. I'm not the one with the approaching runner.
And Schneider just poked it foul. Yeah, the problem is that when you have the mask on and you have to play a hop, you can't necessarily see through the bars of the mask for every hop that might come up because of the height of the ball. It might be a high throw that you can see fine, but a low throw, an in-between hop, you might have trouble. And it's not like a pitch that you're trying to block with your body. You're trying to catch it. Popped up in the shallow center. Tavares coming on, going out to shortstop Hairston to make the play. And that retires Schneider for the first out.
Well, I was told today by someone who really knows pitching that when you look at his motion, Bronson Arroyo, you can see he has that extreme leg kick. Well, who did he model that leg kick after? Doesn't look a lot like Dwight Gooden's, but growing up in Tampa, that's what he tried to make his motion look like. That high leg kick and that explosion to the plate.
Dwight had much more of a bent knee as he raised his left leg.
He had a bent knee, and he kind of curled his body. And the other thing that Dwight did that Bronson doesn't do is that he used to give you the full number. He turned his back so far to the hitter that you could see Dwight's 16. And Arroyo, 61. Very interesting.
Well, like Doc, he's got the curve, but it's a different kind of curve than the one Doc threw. Argenis Reyes takes low, and it's 2-1.
Arroyo's is an Uncle Charles, and Dwight's was a Lord Charles. Uncle Charlie and a Lord Charles.
You know, MLB Network today was showing the 1986 All-Star game.
I was wrong. I gave you wrong info. It's 88. The one at Riverfront.
So it was Doc starting for the National League and Frank Viola, who would be a Met the next season, starting for the American League.
It was very interesting to see all those Mets All-Stars, Carter, Strawberry, Gooden, all in their white spikes. Olsen pitched late in that game. David Cohn, 44, pitching relief for that All-Star game. He also had an amazing season that year, 20-3.
And despite starting the year in the bullpen. 3-2, curveball in there for a call, strike 3, and Argenis Reyes down looking, and Arroyo with his first strikeout has set down the first 8 Mets in a row.
Well, he's got this good backdoor curveball, does Arroyo, and it's a pitch I'm sure that Reyes has not seen. He just throws it very slow, kind of spins it on that outside corner. You people who bowl or watch professional bowling, you know how they throw that ball down the lane and it stays straight for a long period of time and then makes the turn? That's how Arroyo's breaking ball is.
It's like he catches air and takes a turn.
I don't know about you. He's been a 500 pitcher in his career. I like Arroyo. You know, he's one of those guys that, you know, he makes every start, gives just a little something different all the time.
Well, he always seems to have pitched well against the Mets. He's 5-2 lifetime against New York, but the last 3 times out, he's been just dreadful. 0-3 with a 10.29 ERA in his last 3 outings.
He used to throw about 5 miles an hour faster, too.
And Nieve pokes one into shallow right, and he has got the Mets' first hit of the night. Well, Nieve, who drove in the only run for the Mets in his last start, this time picks up their first hit. His third in 8 at-bats.
Well, he and Arroyo are 1-1 against each other. Arroyo with the base hit, and Nieve. Watch Dickerson in right field. He's trying to throw to first base, but Votto never got over there. He was going to try to throw out Nieve at first base.
And Fernando hustled.
He did.
He knew that there was a possible 9-3 in the offing, and nobody wants that. Last time we saw that, B.J. Surhoff was playing right field for the Braves and threw out Jeff D'Amico at first base on a 9-3.
I want to see that. We got to get in the archives and get that one.
D'Amico, you know, was a big plodding guy. Felt bad for him. Pagan was robbed of a base hit his first time up on a diving catch by Willie Taveras over in left center.
I tell the story all the time. Eddie Lynch, who was a very plodding guy for the Mets in the 80s, had an offer. I mean, I'm talking about a big offer, over 30, over 40 something. And hit a ball to right field in San Francisco, and they threw him out 9-3. I believe it was Joel Youngblood was in right field. Yeah.
Of course, Joel played for the Mets for a number of years.
And they had been teammates, so that's really not nice.
Makes it even sweeter for Joel, doesn't it?
Exactly.
1-1 to Pagan. And he bounces this one to Brandon Phillips, who makes the flip. And that ends the inning. Mets get their first hit, but they're turned aside. We head for the fourth with no score. Some of the greatest French fries in the world.
First time I did Shake Shack today with Russ Relkin, our stage manager. I bought he and I supper tonight, and we had Shake Shack. I had the burger, cheeseburger, French fries. Almost 50 years old, best French fries I've ever had in my life, and the vanilla shake.
And
unbelievable.
It's worth standing online for 3 innings?
Absolutely not. But unbelievable. Unbelievable. He got it when it opened at 4:45.
You have no idea how long people stand in line out there in center field just to get that burger, fries, and shake.
It was unbelievable. It was great. Next, second half, we're going to do the tacos ones.
You know, got to stay healthy. We need you in the second half of the year.
That's right.
Go slow.
Okay.
Joey Votto leads off as we go to the 4th inning. Votto took a call, 3rd strike his first time up. We talked during the 1st inning about Votto's stay on the disabled list and his struggles with anxiety. It goes back to the passing of his father, who died last August at a very young age. He was only about 51 years old. And Joey's the oldest of 4 kids. In fact, he has 9-year-old twin brothers, and he felt an enormous amount of, obviously, grief for the passing of his dad, but also responsibility for taking care of his family. And he said he struggled all winter with it. He was very open about this. He's from Toronto, and he sat down and really set out the entire story about what had happened to him when the Reds visited Toronto during interleague play, which is it's where Votto made his return to the lineup. And it was almost like a cathartic thing for him as he lifts one to deep left field. Tatis going back onto the warning track, looking up, and it's out of here. Joey Votto with an opposite field home run, his 11th of the year, his 3rd against the Mets, and he gives the Reds a 1-0 lead. Well, when Votto sees the Mets, he lights up. A couple of 3-run homers in the opening series against the Mets in Cincinnati, and here an opposite field shot to put the Reds in front.
Well, this is a little hanging curveball right in the middle of the plate. Explosion of power by Votto. One thing the Mets pitchers have to learn from that first series in Cincinnati, he just barely catches that base as he has a smile. Both his 3-run home runs, one of them was a left center field. He's got tremendous power there. So what does that tell you as a pitcher? If he has tremendous power to left center field, he's got to be crowded during his at-bats. If you don't crowd him, you're going to be in trouble.
So Votto gives the Reds the lead. It extends his hitting streak to 13 games. And what a difference in their lineup when Votto is in there as opposed to when he is not. Here's Brandon Phillips, who popped up his first time up. Nice catch. I don't want this thing.
Don't understand. I understand that in Wrigley because it's been done there forever.
And now it's done everywhere.
I mean, there's not one little kid out there that you can give the baseball to.
Well, here's the funny thing.
So 40-something throws the ball back on the field. What is that about?
You know, here's the funny thing about it. For 40-plus years at Shea Stadium, there were very few outfield seats in fair territory. Met fans never got to catch home run balls unless you were in the picnic area or that small section of the loge down the left field and right field line. Now all of a sudden, all these seats are in fair territory. Fans have a chance to catch home run balls, and they're throwing them back. I just find that very humorous.
It'd be humorous if one of them with a bad wing ends up hitting one of the left fielders in the head.
Phillips drills one to deep left center, and that'll short hop the wall. And Phillips pulls into second base with a double. So Nieve gave up 2 singles over the first 3 innings, but now a home run to Votto and a well-struck double to Phillips to start the 4th.
Trying to go away. That ball bleeds back over the inside corner. And Phillips loves that ball middle of the plate in. The Reds are showing some power here in the 3rd inning.
15th double of the year for Phillips. So a runner in scoring position with nobody out, and Lance Nix will be the batter.
We see the ILTV pitch differential. One of that on the outside corner and down. Ends up down, but it's on the inside part.
Out of the way. And so Nix in a 2-strike hole.
Job by Fernando there with that fastball on the outside part to Nix. Very hard for him to try to pull that baseball to advance the runner. The pitch he's going to have to be careful of is that curveball. If he's got the 0-2 advantage, bounce that pitch. Make him swinging something out of the strike zone. If you throw it for strike, that allows him to pull that pitch. Good pitching right in the epic.
So the second time Nix has struck out, he fails to get Phillips over to 3rd. That's 5 strikeouts for Nieve.
You have to control those breaking pitches also when you're ahead in the count, and controlling them is throwing them down in the dirt.
Do you practice throwing breaking balls in the dirt?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I just used to do it by when I wanted to throw a good one, I just made sure I threw it real hard because you're always going to get that late break.
Encarnacion takes low and away. Do you have a target?
Yeah, I used to always try to bounce it on the plate because you never do. We used to do that with a split finger too. Just think to yourself, I want to bounce this on home plate. you'll always end up, down at the ankles of the hitter. Or you pick a spot, maybe the right or left shoe of Brian Schneider, one or the other.
Murphy over for a look, but that's out of play. 1-1 to Encarnacion.
Murphy had the play of the year, didn't he, at first base?
It's going to be hard to top. I mean, it wasn't just that he threw it behind his back. It was that he was facing away. He did it all in one motion, and he got it right on target. Now, whether he actually got the runner out, that's a whole different story.
Don't worry about the little things, Gary. But it was interesting. Off the bag, it had a lot of spin on it, too.
Well, he kept chasing it. It kept working away from him.
Like trying to catch a garden hose when you're a kid. Brandon Phillips with one out, getting a big lead. Argenis Reyes trying to hold him on. Good time for him to try to steal that bag.
Another foul ball that'll make it out of play. Well, it was 2 nights ago that Daniel Murphy went from the blooper reel to the highlight reel.
I just love this play. I will laugh every time I see it for the rest of my life.
Howard Johnson and Luis Alicea giving it the salam. And Murphy saying, well, I had it all the way. I found it fascinating that after the game, when they asked him about this, he said, yeah, I have worked on my behind the back throws. I thought I might have to use it on a bunt play. He had the dirt getting away from Schneider, and that'll move Phillips over to third. So Nieve bouncing that one that Schneider couldn't connect with, and now Phillips on third base with one out.
Schneider getting his curveball, and not the form he usually uses on that play. With the backhand, we've seen him many times before. He will take that glove out of the equation, drop to his knees, and protect it with his chest protector. That time it crawled right up his backhand, not the form that Brian would like to use there.
With the Mets already down by a run, Jerry Manuel will bring the infield in. 2-2 the count to Encarnacion. And the slider in the dirt. This one Schneider blocks nicely, and it's 3-2.
Well, there you go. Just perfect form right there. Slider in the dirt. Puts the glove in the 5-hole. Uses the chest protector to keep it in front. Takes a peek. Perfect form by Brian.
3-2 with one out. Line caught by Reyes. Throw back to third. Not in time. Phillips just got back in. Argenis Reyes with a leaping grab for the second out.
Well, he nicely placed Argenis Reyes in that defensive position. Right there in that line drive. Nice hitting by Encarnacion, but doesn't get enough on the throw to third base to get Phillips. I thought he was out when I first saw it. Oh, David Wright did not have his foot on the bag. And that's one of those plays that David not only is trying to reach back for third base, but also keep his eye on the ball. So very difficult sometimes to do both.
So now 2 on to runner at third. And Nieve is going to work out of the full windup against Hairston, who had a base hit his first time up. A single to right that went in and out of the glove of a diving Jeremy Reed.
Interesting. David Wright playing awfully deep against Hairston, who has some speed, loves to bunt.
And the curveball bounces away from Schneider, but not far enough. And Phillips holds at third, 1-0.
It's not usually a great play to bunt with 2 outs and a guy in third, but if the third baseman gives you the opportunity and you have the kind of speed that Hairston has. See David behind the bag, moving back behind the bag would be a great surprise play by Hairston.
And he does look to bunt, and now they've got a run down, throw home by Wright, gets by Schneider, and Phillips scores. Well, the Mets had a gift, and they gave it back. Hairston missed the bunt, Phillips overcommitted, and Wright took too long to throw and then threw too high. They're going to score and a steal of home. I don't know about that.
Well, Brian Schneider catches that, gets him off the bag, and David double clutches, does not get the grip, and that's how you end up with this throw up in the strike zone. Schneider trying to catch it with a sweep tag. You see Phillips running right in the baseline, trying to get in the way of the baseball from David. See the double clutch? Just did not get it out of his glove in time. The wild throw gives the Reds a run.
I'm sorry, that's not a stolen base.
Oh, of course not.
That's an error. They had him dead to rights in a rundown. But Wright took too long to throw and then made a bad throw. But you're right about Phillips. He did a great job staying in the line of that throw. But you've got to come overhand there, and Wright dropped his arm angle.
I think he just, what happened is when he did not get the grip initially, panic set in.
Cora throws out Hairston to end the inning, but the Reds get two. One on a gift, the other on a blast. Joey Votto with the opposite field home run, his 11th of the year and his third against the Mets. And so the Reds unable to connect on a play that could have gotten them out of the inning, instead gave the Reds a run.
Well, what happens on that play, Gary, is most of the time the runner on third will head back to the base, but Brandon Phillips faked the third, then he came home, and you see how he got in the way there. And once David double clutched, really the only throw he had was to try to get it over the head of Phillips. What he needed to do is probably to get on top of that throw a little more, and he could have got it maybe over the head of Phillips. But you know, I don't know if I want to say. It was good base running by Phillips after he got caught.
Right, and I guess my question would be, from Schneider's point of view, should he have taken a step or two to run him back before he released that throw?
I don't know if you'd run him back because you're in that catcher's gear, but I think you want to stand up and not treat it like a hot potato. You want to get rid of that baseball, kind of read the runner if you can. But again, 9 times out of 10, that runner goes back, and I think that's why Brian got rid of the baseball.
Phillips throws out Cora for the first out of the inning.
Here he's talking about it to Nick Evans. I'm sure that after the game, Sandy Alomar Jr. will come over and they'll converse on what he was thinking.
Because it's an unusual play, because it's almost as though Phillips were hung out to dry on a squeeze play.
Well, I think what happens on that play is Brandon Phillips, we don't get to watch the Reds all season long, but I will tell you that play has probably been that happened before with Hairston up and Phillips on third base. So Phillips has the heads up or knows that's in the game plan of Hairston Jr. So as soon as he sees him square away, he's thinking to himself, you know, I'm coming, going to try to beat this play at home plate in case it's not a perfect bunt.
1-1 to Murphy, and it's blown away.
Key for any, if you are a pitcher or you're an infielder on that kind of play, you have 2 outs. Just don't panic, field the bunt, and throw out the runner at first base. You know, I think the addition of the runner on third sometimes puts some players in a little panic mode.
Sidearm delivery from Arroyo misses, 3-1.
And again, Gary, it all comes back to, even as a pitcher, you have to realize the situation. You say to yourself, okay, Harrison's up. I got to get this guy out, this runner at third base. I give him up a run. Just hold it 1 run, no big deal. But you know what? He's got a little speed. So I got to think in the back of my mind, maybe. And let me just be aware of all those things you have to think about when you're out there.
And another bouncer for Phillips. And quickly there are 2 out.
It's his 5th play so far today.
Oh, it has been the summer of 4-3 for the Mets. They don't strike out much, but boy, did they hit a lot of ground balls. Friday's inside pitch on Bronson Arroyo is part of the business of baseball, brought to you by Xerox, ready for real business.
Well, what we're going to say, you got to push early because he's given up 21st inning runs this year, but he was flawless in the 1st inning. Curveball drill. He loves to throw that low curveball. We talked about the drill that the Mets had in spring training, the hit the ball that other way. And of course, the power you would like to see. I mean, there's Votto who got the original hit with his home run, but you'd like to see maybe that power would play a game here for the Mets and David Wright against Arroyo. He has given up 21 home runs.
One and 1 to David, who hit a hard ground ball to short his first time up. And Arroyo picks off the outside corner. The Mets have gone 6 games without a home run or a stolen base. It's the first time that's happened to the Mets in 30 years.
And that's unusual for you folks at home. If you're a team that's not hitting home runs, then you've got to steal some bases or hit and run or do something. But you know what? They haven't had a lot of base runners.
It's hard to steal first base. 2-2 to Wright, and the slider off the corner is 3-2. Mets have had 1 hit, and that was by the pitcher Fernando Nieve. Nieve's last start in Philadelphia, they had 6 hits, and he had the only RBI. Wright drives this one to center field, but right at Taveras. So 2 hard hit balls for David tonight. That resulted in 2 outs. Arroyo sets the Mets down 1-2-3 after getting the lead. Still 2-0 Reds. Tonight after the postgame show, it's 30 minutes devoted to the latest happenings in New York sports on Geico Sports Night tonight after the postgame and at 1 a.m. right here on SNY. Fifth inning, Ryan Hanigan leads off for the Reds. It'll be Hanigan, then Bronson Arroyo, and Chris Dickerson for Cincinnati. Reds with a 2-0 lead. And a strike to Hanigan. Talk about your success stories. Ryan Hanigan is a kid who was a catcher all through Little League and high school. And then went to Rollins College in Florida, Division II school. Never got to catch because he just wasn't good enough. He was the backup. Played a little third base, a little left field, but didn't play a lot in college and did not catch. Didn't get drafted. Reds signed him as a free agent. Spends 7 years in the minor leagues. Rookie season this year, he's hitting .333.
It's almost NFL-like when you have the story of these quarterbacks who don't start for their college team for 4 years, and then they get drafted by the pros and end up starting.
Well, in many ways, Hanigan's story is a little like David Eckstein, who couldn't even play at the University of Florida, but they let him hang around, and he finally made the team as a walk-on, and look at the career he's forged. But it's a good story in persistence.
I will say though, Rollins College, even though it might be Division IIA, Division II, they outstanding baseball program for many years.
You know who went to Rollins College, don't you? Chris Russo.
Oh, he did.
I wonder if he did their games.
They'd know about it.
2-2. Line into right center field, and Hanigan's got himself a base hit. Pagan gets over, can't cut it off, and it rolls to the deepest part of the park. Hanigan a catcher, but he's going to stop at second base. He had thoughts of a triple, but he picked up his third base coach, Mark Berry, and decided that discretion would leave him at second base.
Great job by Hanigan on this little slider way, going with it, and Pagan took an angle to try to keep it in front of him, but couldn't. And right now you're thinking that Hanigan might take a chance at a triple because he was busting out of the box. When you talked about his story, Gary, of course he's not going to take anything for granted, but that was a good decision. No outs. Do not make that first out of third base. Nice base running by Hanigan.
And they got the pitcher up with a chance to bunt you over to third. Arroyo had a base hit his first time up.
He's got 9 sacrifice bunts so far this season. Very good with the bat.
But he pops this one up. And Murphy in to play it for the first out. So Arroyo unable to get that bunt down, and Hanigan stays at second.
Great job by Murphy of yelling. The key, though, is that the pitcher has to yell and pick a guy. If he sees that Murphy's calling that play, he needs to add Murph also to get Schneider off the baseball.
But I think Schneider was a little upset because I think he thought he could catch that ball and pick the runner off second base.
Yes, because Hanigan was off the base. He had a chance for at least a throw to second base to try to double off Hanigan.
I mean, he's going in that direction, and I think that's what Bryant had in mind. Dickerson has walked and hit into a fielder's choice and was caught stealing in the third. Great throw by Schneider. Taken low, 1-1.
You're right, Gary. See, watch this momentum. And, of course, Arroyo's got to be running there just in case. But you see the frustration of Schneider there.
He really wanted to make that play. So he's telling Murphy, if you let me catch it, I can throw behind the runner. There's a strike to Dickerson, 1-2. That's a great pickup. Our cameras are everywhere. Ever notice that? Oh, almost everywhere.
Can't wait to get rid of this one right here in front of us now.
And the breaking ball lined the other way, a base hit. Hanigan to third. He'll be held up there as Tatis gets it in quickly. And so the Reds have runners at the corners with one out. Dickerson taking two and hitting to left.
Well, we said that little breaking ball drill the Mets used in spring training. Well, Dickerson perfectly executed to left field. Drives that ball. Hannigan also froze on the line drive and then proceeded to third base. And third base coach Mark Berry, of course, holding him up. Head on the ball. Bat behind the baseball and then the release with one hand.
Tough call now on how to position your infield because you got Willie Taveras at the plate, who's almost impossible to double up. First and third and one out. So the middle infielders will play a little more shallow than normal double play depth. And Taveras pops one up, and Reyes is over to call. And that'll pin the runner at third. Now there are two out. There's a big out for Fernando Nieve. So no worries about trying to turn a double play as Taveras pops up the first pitch. And if you're Willie Taveras, you got to hit the ball on the ground, don't you?
Well, he always has to hit the ball on the ground because even if he puts the ball in play in the air, he's a little bit like Luis Castillo from the left side. He just doesn't have a lot of power. And it's going to be hard for him to hit the ball deep enough in the outfield to score the catcher from third base. But give Nieve credit, made the pitch.
So now Joey Votto, who opened the scoring with an opposite field home run in the fourth inning, now has a 13-game hitting streak working. Votto's 11th home run of the year. The Reds a very aggressive hitting team. We'll just go up there swinging.
Votto had a nice swing on that fastball away. At some point in this at bat, just for his own safety the rest of the game, Fernando Nieve has to pop one inside here to Votto. Get him off the plate. He is completely over the plate. Those hands covering that inside corner, going back outside.
Tried to. And so it too.
His hands are right on the inside corner. He's throwing right at his belt buckle. He'll get out of the way.
When you saw a hitter with that elbow draped over the plate, did you take a shot at the elbow?
Well, I'd throw right at it because he's going to move it. No one wants to get hit. You just throw right at it, right at that bottom elbow. So that's a good place for you to aim because once they see it, they will move enough so the ball will not hit them. Trying to go up in the strike zone now.
Unless you're somebody like Craig Biggio wearing armor on your elbow. But Votto's not. I mean, for a guy who drapes himself over the plate, he's not wearing a big heavy guard. Hitters get very brave wearing that armor.
Well, they've gone everything fastballs against Votto here. They got him in the initial inning at swinging a ball, a curveball in the dirt, and see if they go back at it. Just staying with the fastball away.
0-2 and another one outside. Just missed with that fastball. 1-2.
You know, because of the not problem, but you have to have confidence in your catcher here that with a 1-2 count, if you go to the breaking ball, 85 pitches here in the fifth inning, that you've got to trust him that you can bounce it, and hopefully Votto will swing over the top of it.
Nieve struck out Votto on a fastball on the outside corner, and he's going away again. Changeup pops out of the mid of Schneider, but no advance. 2-2. Got to worry about Dickerson running at first base. A lot of speed there.
Close, wasn't it? Nieve did not like the signs from Schneider. Stepped off, but got to make sure you step off of that foot before you move any of that upper body. Another changeup.
2-2. Popped it up. Right in the middle of the infield. Cora taking charge. Side retired. A single and a double, but the Reds do not score. Halfway through, 2-0 Reds.
and the Mets finally had some reason to believe. Jerry Grody returned to full-time duty. Bud Harrelson reclaimed his shortstop position to shore up the defense as the Mets pulled together in quest of a storybook finish.
A year to give Met fans heart. You got to believe.
Right.
In many ways, 1973 was much like 2009. The Mets had injuries all season. They were in last place on August 30th, but rallied to win a weak division, just 3 games over 500. Won it on the last day, in fact, the day after the last day of the season, when they beat the Cubs to clinch the division.
Well, like the Cardinals in 06, right? What do they have, 83 wins in that season?
And they won the World Series. You might recall.
I don't.
Jeremy Reed popped to short his first time, and he takes a curveball for a strike from Arroyo, 0-2.
My memory stops at your call of Endy's catch. That's where it stops. That's it.
Was there a Met fan alive who didn't think after that catch that the Mets would roll to a win that night, especially when they loaded the bases in the bottom of the inning? And of all people, Indy gets an at bat with 2 out, the bases fall. 1-2 to Reed. Popped up, playable for Encarnacion in foul ground, and Reed retired for the first out of the inning. Now it's time to take a look inside Citi Field with Kevin Burkhardt, presented by New York City Union Carpenters and Contractors.
Well, guys, this week's edition is on the luxury suites here at Citi Field, and Danny Sessa and the boys did a very nice job. We take a look inside what one of them looks like. 3 HD TV screens. You got a nice little bar, some sofa area to relax and enjoy. Then when you come outside, it's cool. You got all these wide chairs, 24 inches wide, a little bar area. You can put your drink and your food out here. Of course, Donna, who serves all the food and drinks. Danny and the boys didn't have anything to do with Donna. The cool thing, too, about this area is everyone here has access to the Delta 360 Club. It's over 22,000 square feet, bars, chairs, and plenty of TVs. And then down the end, there's a place you can actually look down the window and see the indoor Mets batting cage. So you go down there in the middle of the game and see the guys taking their hacks. Arroyo, nice play. Tatis out of there. Guys, back to you.
Do you think, Kevin, that you could arrange for us to do a game from down there sometime?
Yeah, you want me to do that right now?
That would be terrific.
Negotiate a little contract?
I just think it would be a nice change of pace for us.
Well, I wouldn't want to interrupt all the business that's being done in those Sterling suites, because people come here, they like to go to the suites to get all this business done. But not true. I've been in many of those suites. There's no business done.
Well, it's like people going on the golf course and saying they're doing business.
Exactly.
Right?
Hey, Ronnie, can I be a reporter for a second?
Yeah.
I'm happy to report there's absolutely no business being done right now.
Thank you. Thank you.
Brian Schneider up with 2 out and nobody on. Brian popped to short his first time up. I think we need to take our act to different parts of this yard and see how it looks. We don't get to sit in the stands. I mean, I have the advantage at Shea of having sat in virtually every part of that ballpark and knew what it was like. Here, we don't get that opportunity.
We have to check if anyone wants us to take our act anywhere, to tell you the truth.
1-2 to Schneider. I mean, we could do one from the suite. We could do one from the Pepsi porch.
Pepsi porch would be great. Suite would be great.
Maybe we could do a game from the bullpen.
That's nice, too.
Two and 2 to Schneider. Well, there certainly would be enough room for us in there, do you think? And all our people?
Yeah, well, we come with an entourage.
Well, of course, especially Keith. Schneider foul tips it, or did he? Schneider thought that he got a piece of that, but apparently he missed it, and Hannigan puts a tag on him to end the inning. Second strikeout for Arroyo. That's after just 1 base runner over the first 5 innings. Beautiful look at Midtown Manhattan on a gorgeous night in New York. Temperature in the 70s. Perfect July weather. And another good crowd at Citi Field as you look at the 6th inning recap. Mets offense missing in action. The only hit by the Met pitcher Fernando Nieve, who's pitched well enough, gave up a home run to Joey Votto, and another run scoring when the Mets botched a rundown play. And Nieve finds himself down 2-0 as we go to the 6th. And Brandon Phillips leads off for Cincinnati. Phillips doubled to left center, took third on a wild pitch, and then scored when Jerry Hairston missed a bunt and the Mets missed the rundown. Phillips was credited with a steal at home. He lifts this one to deep left. Tatis going back and has room to make the grab. 1 away. So 1 pitch and 1 out.
No, a double play as a pitcher's best friend, but 1 pitch, 1 out is real close.
And Phillips looking out to left field. His first trip to Citi Field. He's hit a couple of balls solidly, and you know, when you play in a hitter's haven like Cincinnati, you get used to the ball flying in a way that it just doesn't fly here. And the whole National League getting used to the large installation here at Citi Field.
Well, Cincinnati's another ballpark that I'm not allowed to go on. Keith always gets that trip. Would that be a home run at the Great American Ballpark?
Easily.
Easily.
Yeah. I mean, right center is where the... Oh, this one's drilled to deep right field by Lance Nix. Looking up at the wall, and it's into the second deck. Up into the Pepsi porch. Nix hits his 8th home run of the year to put the Reds up 3-0. Well, that would be a home run anywhere. Nix crushed it.
Well, that was the pitch that Nieve got Votto out to end the last inning. That little changeup out over the plate. But Nix was ready for it. Fine. See that changeup, and it's not bad. It's down. Boy, sped the bat up of Nix as he just launched this ball to right field.
So a souvenir in the Pepsi porch and a 3-0 Cincinnati lead.
The guy on the right, that's Paul Manish, who had the pitch this week.
Yeah, that 22-1 game in Cincinnati, in Philadelphia.
He gave up a grand slam, didn't he?
Gave up 6 runs in his 1 inning of work.
Could be in the book now.
A Derek Bell type performance. Encarnacion is 0 for 2. Well, the Mets have had their share of position players go to the mound. There's been a lot of really bad ones. The best one, Desi Rutherford.
You said he was throwing gas.
He had serious heat.
Wow, that's impressive.
Up in the zone, swings and misses. I mean, you don't expect that from a shortstop. 3-1 to Encarnacion. In fact, he was so good that Bobby Valentine said afterward, he said, I might use him again. He never did. On the outside corner, 3-2.
Those 80s teams, the best pitcher of the whole group that we would have used, just didn't have to use him, was Danny Heap.
Really?
Not only threw gas, but he had a good overhand curveball, too. Then it was quite an athlete.
Another drive to deep left. Tatis stumbles, goes back, leaps, can't get it. Heading into second is Encarnacion, and he's got a double. Well, Tatis missed it at the end, but the reason he didn't catch it was the stumble at the beginning.
We've seen this a lot the last week, that these line drives to left field, there's that little delay for these left fielders trying to pick up the baseball, and by the time Tatis got back there with the leap, just over his outstretched glove.
Well, meanwhile, 3 rockets in a row hit off Fernando Nieve. Phillips' ball caught on the warning track. Nix's ball going into the second deck in right field, and now Encarnacion with his 3rd double of the year. Here's Jerry Hairston Jr., who's 1 for 2 as the Mets bullpen gets active. And Pat Mish is up again in the Mets bullpen. He has been very heavily used since he arrived. Popped it up, shallow center, and Pagan coming on to call for the second out. So 2 away. Encarnacion still at second. Let's head for the studio. Chris Carlin is there for a New York State Smokers Quit Line game break. Not a home run. Worth is homered in 4 straight games.
What's he got, 20 now?
20. 4 guys with 20 on that team.
He's going to the All-Star game?
Right.
For Beltran. In place of Beltran.
Intentional walk to Ryan Hannigan. And that'll bring up the pitcher Arroyo as Elmer Descends joins Pat Mish in the Mets bullpen. You know, it's interesting. The Mets are carrying 13 pitchers right now. They essentially have 3 long men in their bullpen.
Yeah.
Tim Redding, Elmer Descends, Pat Mish. And because the Mets starting pitching has been so dreadful lately, all those guys are pitching almost every day.
Yeah.
So now 2 men on for Bronson Arroyo. You go back the last 13 games before tonight as you look at the AT&T high-speed pitch. Nieve topping out at 94 and Arroyo at 90. The last 13 games, Mets starting pitchers, I mean, the numbers are just brutal. They're 2-10 with a 6.85 ERA, a 3.42 batting average against, and they've averaged less than 5 innings per start with more walks than strikeouts.
Yeah, it's when they've been needed the most, too.
And that's exactly the point. You know, so much focus has been on the Mets offense and lack of offense and the fact that they've played poorly defensively. But what you need at a time like that is for your pitching to step up and be special, and it's been just the opposite. Look at those numbers. So it's no wonder the Mets have lost 10 of those 13 games.
Look at that one at the bottom. More walks than strikeouts.
0-2 to Arroyo, who singled back in the 3rd, then popped up trying to bunt in the 5th.
Well, you're right about the long man, Gary. When your starters are doing what they were doing earlier in the season, you'll go a week at a time without seeing those long men.
And it was the guys at the end of the game. It was the K-Rods and the Felicianos and the Putzes who were pitching every day as the Mets were protecting leads. 1-2 to Arroyo.
Well, they have some fear of Arroyo as a hitter. He has 4 career home runs. That's 3 pitches, 3 breaking balls from Nieve.
Nieve up to 105 pitches on the night as he works here in the 6th inning. 1-2. Struck him out, and that'll do it for the Reds in the top of the 6th. But they add a run on a no doubt about it blast by Lance Nix up into the Pepsi porch for his 8th of the year. And now the Here's your Aflac trivia question for tonight. Who are the only 2 players to be selected to the All-Star team for both the Mets and the Reds?
I got it.
Well, Seaver's obvious one.
Well, you're not supposed to say
well,
it. In case it's not that obvious.
I'm sorry. I apologize. That was such a key thing to do.
The other one shouldn't be hard, but I bet you it's harder than you think.
Now I got to think. I'm not even sure who it is. Try and come up with it. Bronson Arroyo's thrown just 66 pitches over the first 5 innings. The Mets have had only one base runner, and that was a base hit by the pitcher Nieve. Argenis Reyes leads off, pushes a bunt. In comes Encarnacion. Slow on the throw, and Reyes beats it out. Well, Encarnacion chose to use the glove and then couldn't get rid of it, and Argenis Reyes has himself a bunt single.
Well, very interesting. He had to feel that with the glove because Reyes really bunted this ball too hard. Usually when it's not hit this hard, they can use the bare hand. He chose the glove, could not come up with the handle, and by the time he made that throw, the good speed of Reyes safe at first base. Good start and good play by Reyes to get on and get a rally started.
Great hustle by Reyes, and the Mets have just their second hit, and Reyes has just his second hit of the season. And now Nick Evans to pinch hit, and what a strange day this has been for Nick. He got to the ballpark today and was informed that he was being sent down to the minors, with the Mets activating Angel Pagan off the disabled list.
Which was a surprise to me. I mean, I don't know if it was a surprise to you. You had to make some kind of move, but
I think the Mets have made some kind of commitment to defense in the outfield.
Yeah.
I think that had something to do with it, even though Nick clearly has swung the bat well. So at about 4 o'clock, Nick was informed that he was being optioned down to Buffalo. Then at about 6:15, the Mets announced the trade of Ryan Church for Jeff Francoeur, and since Francoeur's not going to be here till tomorrow, that opened up a spot on the roster, at least for tonight. And I don't know where Nick was, whether I know he had to have left the ballpark, but he made it back.
Thank God for cell phones. If that had happened in the day, Gary, I don't think you would have found me.
That's an excellent point. The question is, where would you have been hiding? Because when you get optioned to the minors, they give you 72 hours to report. You can go anywhere.
There would be words like sorrows and drowning and all those kind of things.
Right. I could do that in the ballpark.
That's right.
Good breaking ball by Arroyo, and it's 1-2. Evans started in left field last night and went 0 for 4. And after a strong beginning, Nick went 1 for his last 13, which might have had something to do with his being optioned. Of course, the Mets didn't have a lot of, for lack of a better term, options in terms of who to send down. They needed to keep a backup infielder, a backup catcher. They only have 4 players on the bench, so Nick was the last to join and the first last to leave. And we'll see what the Mets decide to do tomorrow when Francoeur arrives. Two and 2 now to Evans. Mets with the leadoff man on for the first time tonight. And Evans down swinging. And Arroyo has his 3rd strikeout of the night, 1 away.
Well, Roy will throw you a lot of slow stuff, and then when he gets ahead of you, every once in a while, he'll add a little bit on that fastball. Just got it past Nick Evans. I'm trying to think, Francoeur wore number 7, didn't he?
He's not going to wear number 7 here.
Exactly.
Trying to think, last Met with a Francophone surname. Was it Bruce Beauclair?
There you go.
Or has there been one since? Francoeur's nickname in Atlanta was Frenchie. Here's Pagan, who's 0 for 2, robbed of a hit on a diving play by Willie Taveras back in the first inning. And he takes a slider for a strike. That's Jim Beecham. You know the trivia question for Jim Beecham, don't you?
No.
As a Met, he was wearing 24 when the Mets traded for Willie Mays.
There you go.
And he gave it up, of course. And Beach took number 5. And since Mays left, I believe there's only one player who's worn number 24. And that was Kelvin Torvey, who wore it, I believe, for 2 days.
Wow.
That was a mistake.
Yes. What were they thinking?
Arroyo ahead on Pagano in 2.
You know, one thing to look at is that every pitcher will have a subtle change when they're in the stretch. We saw that big leg kick from Bronson Arroyo, a little different from the stretch.
A lot different.
Almost like a slide step.
Now, how do you adjust if you're a pitcher? If you're so used to getting that leg all the way up high like he does in his windup, how do you then make that radical adjustment?
Well, you have to make the adjustment because what probably happened is he probably had that high leg kick in the early minors, and the guys were running around the bases like rabbits. And they say, hey, listen, son, you're going to have a little slide step, and that's how you develop. Those are the little things that happen in the minor leagues. Watch a stretch. Just a little kick. Very interesting. I've never seen a pitcher whose heel comes behind his leg. His left heel comes behind his leg that's stationed against the rubber and then proceeds to home. That's a very unusual move.
It could get you on Dancing with the Stars.
That's right.
1-2. Breaking ball struck him out. Arroyo with back-to-back strikeouts of Evans and Pagan. Now they're 2 away.
Well, watch. Good curveball right there from Bronson Arroyo. And then the stretch. You can see right there. See how he kind of kicks it behind him? Bob Fosse and Broadway would love that little bit of that step ball change. Very nice.
So now Alex Cora with 2 out and a runner at first. Cora's been up twice. Both times he's grounded out to second base. Arroyo has limited the Mets to 2 hits. A soft single to right by the pitcher Nieve and a bunt hit by Argenis Reyes. And that has been it. No walks, 4 strikeouts for Arroyo, who had been beat up badly in his last 3 starts. And another ground ball to second base for Cora. And that'll do it for the Mets in the 6th. So Arroyo dominant through 6 innings. Off to the 7th, top of the order for the Reds, who lead 3-0. Trivia question: the 2 players who were all-stars for the Mets and Reds. I got Seaver. Who's the other one?
Brooklyn-born. Gotta be. There we go.
Oh, Johnny. How could I forget? I'm sorry, Johnny. I apologize. You know, he spent 15 years as a Met. It's easy to forget. You know,
He'll let you know next time you see him.
Do you remember, though, that Johnny first started out in the Dodger organization?
That's right. And started as a starter also, as Pedro Feliciano comes in the game.
Another guy who has been a Dodger and a Red.
Pat Nish was up, but now in the 7th inning, Feliciano going to get some work.
Pedro came in 2 nights ago, got Andre Ethier on a fly ball in a big spot. And now he'll face the top of the batting order. Chris Dickerson, Willie Taveras, and Joey Votto, left, right, and left in the top of the 7th. Dickerson 1 for 2 and a walk, and an opposite field single his last time up. Well, before the game today, Jerry Manuel was talking about starting pitching, and clearly that's been an issue lately. And after the game last night, after Livan Hernandez had another dreadful start, he said that after the All-Star break, we're going to sit down, or during the break, we'll sit down and talk about what our rotation is going to look like coming out of the break. And I asked Jerry tonight before the game whether Nieve, after 3 good starts and 2 not very good ones, was on a start-by-start kind of leash. And what he said was, he said, Nieve has shown us enough that he could be part of the solution, could be part of a rotation, but that's not guaranteed. And I guess off what we saw tonight, there's every reason to think he'll probably continue to get a chance.
Yeah, I thought he did a nice job. It's just, he got a couple pitches up in the strike zone. I liked his aggressiveness. He was going after the hitters much more today. And he showed a real live fastball, which he didn't show really in Philadelphia.
But the bigger picture is that in the state that they're in right now, and with the possibility that if this stretch of trouble from the starting pitching continues to match the difficulties the Mets are having with their hitting, as that one's grounded just foul, the Mets could fall out of this race very quickly and be a non-factor over the last couple of months of the season. So it's a dam that needs to be diked very quickly. Well, and so they are going to do whatever they need to do, and feelings bruised be darned, and try and patch those holes as quickly as they can. Bouncing ball for Reyes to handle. Nice easy hop, and Dickerson out one away.
We'll take a look at the standings as we move forward, and the Mets one game from the, not one game, but one place from the bottom. Of course, the Nationals really struggling this year, 5.5 out. The Phillies looking like they're playing a little better baseball, leading tonight in Pittsburgh. But the only way out of this, and I know it's a lot of pressure on the starting pitchers, the only way out of it is to starting pitch like you've never starting pitched. Consistent efforts is one of the keys. And I think Jerry addressed it this way. He says at some point we've got to get 4 guys going. Out of the 5-man rotation, we've got to get 4 guys where every night you're getting at least this effort from Fernando Nieve. Quality starts, 6-7 innings of fine pitching. They're going to need if they're going to stay close.
And it starts from the top, because Johan Santana pitched a nice game his last time out against the Phillies, but he has been part of the problem.
He had a tough
over the last month.
One of his worst Junes, ERA over 6.
And Pelfrey, who is the second in line now, he pitched one terrific game in Milwaukee, but then bounced back with a clinker his last time out.
Well, I think that's that to me is Santana's kind of like the F in math equations, right? It's the given. But it's really the maturation of Pelf that really is one of the keys for this starting rotation, because at some point, and it happened at the end of last season, that he starts to punch out these 7-inning starts with 2-3 runs and going deep into games and being consistent 4 out of 5 starts, or 4 out of 6 starts, instead of having a good game, a bad game, good game. That doesn't really work for the Mets right now. They need consistent efforts from all their starters to get on a roll, and that's what they're hoping for after the All-Star break.
Oh, 2 to Taveras. And if the decision is made that, well, maybe they need to make changes in that rotation, they've got options down in Buffalo. I mean, Jonathan Neese is pitching the best he ever has in the minor leagues over his last half-dozen starts. Nelson Figueroa has been brilliant down in Buffalo.
Top 5 ERA, Nelson Figueroa.
Right back to Feliciano, and he throws out Taveras 2 away. So there are other possibilities if the Mets decide they need to make changes in that rotation,
which I think puts a little pressure on some guys at the bottom of the rotation. Pressure should be good. I mean, that's, it should push you to better success. And I think for a lot of the starting pitchers, and being one 100 years ago, one of the keys is try to really honestly evaluate your first half performance. What did you do well? Try to continue that. And what did you do poorly? Honestly, did you do poorly? And try not to do that in the second half.
Joey Votto swinging on the cutter, and it's 0-1. Votto with an opposite field home run back in the fourth. And, you know, think about it this way. Had Livan Hernandez not been as good as he was for his first 10 starts, had Fernando Nieve not been as good as he was for his first 3 starts, think of where the Mets would be now. So they've actually, in some ways, gotten more than expected from some of those guys at the back end. The question is it legitimate? Is it fair to expect the same from those guys the second half of the year?
Well, I'm going to say, knowing Livan for a long time, I think that he's definitely a little out of sync, but I don't see any drop in his physical ability. So he's just a little out of kilter, not throwing the pitches he wants to throw for strikes.
Votto drives one into right center for a base hit. So Joey Votto with his second hit of the night. He's going to try for 2. Pagan's thrown to second. Cora with the tag. Votto's slide came up short, and he's out. A little better slide, he might have made it. But trying to hustle a double, Votto is thrown out from Pagan to Cora. 8-6 to end the inning. Let's make the play, and the inning is over. Remember, all Mets games on SNY are available in HD, presented by IOTV. Night game tomorrow will be on Pix 11 tomorrow night. Johan Santana against Johnny Cueto. Sunday afternoon, final game before the All-Star break on SNY. Mike Pelfrey against Aaron Harang. And then after the break, Jeff Francoeur and the Mets will visit Ryan Church and the Braves for 4 games.
That is going to be strange, right?
Daniel Murphy leads off the home 7th, takes a strike from Bronson Arroyo, who's allowed just 2 soft hits. Murphy tonight twice has grounded out to second base. It's been a busy night for Brandon Phillips. And there's a base hit for Murphy to get the Mets started in the bottom of the 7th. Just the 3rd man hit, and the first one solidly struck.
Well, again, the Mets get the leadoff hitter for the second consecutive inning. A changeup down. Good job by Murphy hitting that ball back through the box.
So now David Wright will try and do something with that. David has hit 2 balls hard tonight. A solid grounder to short and a line drive to center field, but both have resulted in outs. Coming off back-to-back 2-hit games. That hole stays open on the right side with Votto holding against Murphy. And David takes the curveball high for ball 1. Arroyo has had very little trouble to deal with tonight. The Mets have not had a runner past first base. But now Arroyo behind on right, 2-0. A rare time he's been behind in the count tonight. And his pitch count is very low. And a 2-0 curveball in for a strike.
Well, he has that pitch down pat. It almost doesn't really break. It's a little spinner in there that he can throw, and it's just wraps around the plate as Wright has to take it.
On 2-1, David takes a fastball for a strike, and it's 2-2.
Well, sometimes off certain pitchers you see so much breaking stuff, but then you get the hitter's count 2-1, and he surprises you with that fastball. Never seen that before. Wright's for leaders.
It's nice. Bounce to short. Hairston to second, gets the force as Murphy goes in hard. That's the first out of the inning.
Well, nice play by Harrison. David again hit this ball. Looked like it was destined for the hole, but Hairston makes a nice play. The good flip. And a nice choice here by Phillips. He knows that he's not going to be able to turn two. And a nice hard slide by Daniel Murphy. Yeah, that's hard baseball. That's how you play.
Back leg whipped. It works well in the circle square. Grounded to the right side. Phillips pivots, gets the out at second. Hairston to first, not in time. Reed beats it out to keep the inning alive.
There's a nice job by the Gold Glover on the fly with the flip turn. And Hairston, I don't know why he chose to do that. That was I'm going to call that a Lugo, because he just stood on the base and did not. You want to come when you're the shortstop across that bag and greet the baseballs. Reed with that just enough speed to beat out that ball at first base.
That's 9 chances for Brandon Phillips tonight. He's been a busy man in the first 7 innings. Now Fernando Tatis with 2 out and a runner at first. Tatis, a late addition to the lineup tonight. Ryan Church was supposed to play but traded less than an hour before the game. If you missed it earlier, Ryan Church goes to the Braves. The Mets get Jeff Francoeur, who will report to the Mets and be here for the game tomorrow night. The Braves were in Denver, so he had to fly a couple of time zones. 1-1 to Tatis.
Very interesting. Both general managers opening up themselves to a little second guessing if any of these two guys get red hot and are the difference in the race.
Well, it's for Omar Minaya, it's an upside trade.
I agree.
I mean, it's a 25-year-old guy of tremendous athletic ability who has lost his way for the last year and a half. And you know, it's fascinating that the Braves, with a hometown kid and all the connections that he has there, have decided to throw up their hands and say, we've done all we can. We're not going to get any more out of him, and trade him within the division. That having been said, if Francoeur ever finds himself, the Mets could have themselves a huge plus.
Well, he's proven that over the course of the season, we're talking about a guy who plays every single day, has 2 seasons of playing 162 games. Career with the Braves. That on-base percentage is always the problem for Francoeur.
But he's really had 2 careers.
Yes.
06 and 07, he was a budding star.
David Wright kind of budding star.
Exactly, a 20-homer, 100 RBI guy. Encarnacion gets the force at second, but the last 2 seasons, he has really struggled with an on-base percentage around 290. 3-0 Reds. McClenny. Let's check out our Dunkin' Donuts Ask the Booth for tonight. Norman from Monroe, New Jersey wants to know, Ronnie, when players are selected to the All-Star game, would they rather just have the rest, or do they like to play?
Oh, that's an interesting question, Norman. I think that they absolutely want to play. I mean, it's such a joy to be selected to the All-Star game. I'll tell you, my rookie year, I had 9 wins at the All-Star break. There was a lot of mention that I might make the All-Star game. I was not selected, probably properly so. I was devastated. I mean, when I heard that I might be selected, you know how you say in the back of your brain, like, you know what, if you're an Oscar nominee, you know, I don't really want to win. You know, it'll be fine that I'm just in thought of. But when I didn't get on the All-Star team, I was devastated. And the next year I got on, so it really helped. But no, yes, they want to go and they want to play and want to participate, and it is a blast. It's 3 days of fun.
Brandon Phillips, first pitch from Bobby Parnell, lifts one to right, and Reed gets over to grab it one away. So it's not just about the selection. Guys actually like to go and play the game.
They like to go. The only thing they don't like is as soon as you sit down, there's 60 dozen baseballs that you have to sign. That's the tough thing. But after that, the camaraderie with the players, you know, they used to be in the day you only hung out with your league, but now, you know, guys are just having fun. They have the home run hitting contest that they never had in the past. That always becomes fun. I think they've also included, you see a lot of the players with their children on the field, and that's a cool thing too. So yeah, I think they really like it, and I know why you're asking, because Mr. number 5 for the Mets, of course, has been playing every day and will start in the All-Star game, and you're saying, boy, it'd be nice if he could get some rest, but that's what happens when you're one of the best players in the league.
And David has really enjoyed his All-Star experience.
Yes.
And he has made it quite clear that he absolutely wants to be there.
And he is a fan favorite, not only here in New York, but around baseball. And people want to see him.
Bobby Parnell working to Lance Nix, who crushed one his last time up and knocks right off his pins, but David makes the grab for the second out.
Well, David made a little bit like Martin Brodeur here with this line drive from Nix the other way. Corrals it. That's why they call it the hot corner, folks.
Ooh. Playing off the line against the lefty, and he was just in the right spot for the second out. So 2 up and 2 set aside, and now Edwin Encarnacion, and he takes a strike. So there are no more Gary Templetons.
No, if I ain't starting, I ain't depart.
The great lines of all time.
Did you see the piece on David with the Make-A-Wish kid that he had out in Milwaukee?
I heard about it.
It was just fantastic. The time he spent with that young man, and you know, just pitching to him, playing catch. You know, he's a huge David Wright fan, and then he sits in the stands, sits with his parents. That's the night David had a 2-run home run in Milwaukee. I mean, that's Ruthian how he delivered.
That ball tipped the bat and went into Schneider's mitt. That's a 3rd strike. Encarnacion can't believe it, but it clearly hit the bat and was caught by Schneider. And Encarnacion getting right in the face of Jim Reynolds, and he'd better watch it or he's going to be out of the game. Billy Hatcher, the first base coach, comes down to try and save him. Dusty Baker out as well. Encarnacion trying to get out of the way, but the ball tipped the bat and went into Schneider's mitt. And according to the rules, folks, that's a foul tip, 3rd strike. Home 8th inning. Mets running out of time, down 3-0. Brian Schneider will lead off against Bronson Arroyo, who has gone the distance. And a curveball from Arroyo in for a strike. Schneider tonight has popped up and struck out. Arroyo has struck out 4. He has not walked a single batter. He's given up just 3 singles, and the Mets have not had a runner past first base tonight. Shades of Joel Pinheiro.
Yeah.
Although Pinheiro seems to be doing that with regularity now.
Another complete game effort in his last, when he was losing 1-0 till late in that ball game.
Kind of like Felix Hernandez last night. Did you see Felix Hernandez's reaction when Franklin Gutierrez hit the 3-run homer in the 8th? He hugged him for about 30 seconds. He wouldn't let him go.
No base on balls.
3-1 now to Schneider. Of course, the one thing about Felix Hernandez is that he had a towel over his face and wasn't watching when Gutierrez actually hit the home run.
You heard the sound.
Yes, I guess he did. Weak ground ball from Schneider off Arroyo's glove. Time to make the recovery. And the first out of the inning. Time to check in with the studio. Chris Carlin is there with the New York State Smokers Quit Line game break. Lester's allowed just 4 hits in that game, and Bannister's allowed just 2. Quite a pitcher's duel at Fenway. Now Argenis Reyes, who has one of the Mets' 3 hits, a bunt single in the 6th inning. Gary Sheffield has come out on deck to be a pinch hitter for New York. And the curveball in for a strike, 1-1 to Reyes. Another chance for Brandon Phillips. He should apply for a raise. 2 out. Take the train to Citi Field as the series with the Reds continues tomorrow night at 7:10 p.m. Mass transit is the faster, easier, and greener way to Citi Field. Visit Mets.com or call 718-507-TIXX for your tickets now.
Well, Gary, with all these ground balls to second base, if this was a jukebox, someone would have kicked it by now.
Well, here's Sheffield with 2 out and nobody on. Gary had a couple of hits and drove in a run last night. And the Reds put on an overshift against Sheffield. I don't think we've seen this before. And Gary takes a strike.
One of the few right-handed hitters in baseball that gets the shift like a left-hander on the right side. 100 pitches now for Bronson Arroyo.
Almost a 2-to-1 strike-to-ball ratio. And a line drive into left field. On comes Nix to slide and make the catch. Nice play by Lance Nix. A homer tonight and a nice sliding play. And the Mets are down 1-2-3 in the bottom of the 8th. Arroyo might have a chance for a complete game tonight. With help from his defense. It's 3-0. NY is brought to you by IOTV. Get the best in HD free with IOTV. By Acela. By Toyota. And by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. Ninth inning, Sean Green takes over the pitching for New York.
Sean Green in his 41st game. See those batting averages against are being lowered as he continues to pitch much better as he goes along in this season.
Jerry Hairston Jr. will lead off. Hairston 1 for 3 on the night, singled back in the second, and takes a strike from Green. Fernando Nieve started, went 6 innings, allowed 3 runs and 8 hits, including home runs to Votto and Nix. Feliciano and Parnell each with a scoreless inning, and now Green trying to keep them as close in the ninth, with the top of the batting order coming up for New York in the bottom. Out to right field for Jeremy Reed, who makes the backhand grab, one away. Tomorrow night, second game of the series on Pix 11, 7 o'clock the coverage. Johan Santana, after pitching well but losing in Philadelphia in his last start, to fall to 9-7, will take on Johnny Cueto, who got routed in the first inning, giving up 9 runs against the Phillies in his last start. So both guys faced the Phillies in their last outing, and now they get to face each other. But Cueto's had a good year, and Santana trying to fashion a better July after a very difficult month of June. Here's Ryan Hannigan. 1 for 2 and a walk. He doubled back in the 5th inning. And the Phillies have won. They held off the Pirates 3-2 after Brandon Moss hit a 9th inning home run. So the Mets, if they lose tonight, would fall 6.5 behind, as they continue to fall ever deeper in the standing. In comes Cora to field it, and the running toss on target for the second out. So 2 up and 2 set aside, and now Bronson Arroyo will come up to bat in the top of the ninth, which means that Arroyo is going to get a crack at a complete game tonight.
Well, he has 6 in his career with the Reds, and 2 of those have been against the Mets. So if he finishes this off, 7 career complete games with the Reds, 3 of them against the Mets, and it would be his 2nd career shutout.
His only shutout came in September of 06 against the Giants, a 3-hitter. And he's working on a 3-hit shutout tonight. So Arroyo, who was routed in his last 3 starts, has bounced back tonight against the struggling Mets. And for Arroyo, it's been kind of hit and miss this year. He's been battling carpal tunnel syndrome, and as a consequence of that, he has had to put aside his guitar this season.
Very accomplished guitarist is Bronson Arroyo.
David Wright makes the reaching grab, and the low throw handled by Murphy to end the inning. So Green gets him out 1-2-3. Now the Mets' last licks in the bottom of the ninth. Pagan, Cora, and Murphy, and Wright if anybody gets on. 3-0 Reds. Right after the game, be sure to join Chris Carlin and Bobby Ojeda for all of tonight's highlights, exclusive interviews, Jerry's post-game reactions, and reaction to the big trade today with the Mets acquiring Jeff Francoeur. It's all coming up on Lincoln Mercury post-game live right after tonight's game and after all 162 Mets games right here on SNY. Bronson Arroyo will bid for his second career shutout as he takes the mound for the bottom of the ninth. Let's check in with Kevin.
We'll try to do something about that. And I talked to him today about avoiding the injury bug. You know, it's so strange because he's got an incredible physique. He's in great shape. He always beats everyone on the spring training test they put everyone through. And he said, well, what I've tried to do, and I work with some of the people down in Port St. Lucie, is do different types of stretching and more of it. A lot of yoga type stretching for him. Action stretching is what he called it. Different positions. He said he's actually now also stretching between innings. We'll see if that can keep him on the field, guys.
All right, Kevin. Pagan 0 for 3 at the plate tonight, and he's taking all the way a call strike. Pagan had his best chance for a base hit leading off the first inning when he drove one to the gap in left center, and Willie Taveras made a diving catch. That's the closest the Mets have come to an extra base hit tonight. This one a comebacker for Arroyo, and Pagan retired for the first out. Well, the Mets are in danger of being shut out for the 7th time this season. And the 3rd time this week. They were shut out 2-0 in Philadelphia on Sunday. Came home, were shut out 8-0 by the Dodgers on Tuesday. And now down to their final 2 outs without having had a runner pass first base tonight.
14 outs. Way of the ground ball.
Cora has accounted for 3 of them. 3 ground balls, all hit to Brandon Phillips at second base. And it's taken high for ball 1. Well, if nothing else, with the trade the Mets made today, tomorrow at least the furniture gets changed around. And maybe the Mets get a little jolt of energy with the arrival of Francoeur. Terrific line from Mr. Arroyo, and badly needed for him as he searches for his 9th win of the year. Fisted, foul. And Razor Shines caught that ball, which was technically still in play. I mean, Edwin Encarnacion was coming over in foul ground behind Razor, and he should not have touched that ball.
Yeah, you got to get out of the way just in case Encarnacion with a dive.
I mean, he'd given up on it, but still, that's a live ball. 1-2, taken low, 2-2. Didn't we see in Chicago last year a runner on third base touch a ball?
Derek Lee. Derek Lee caught the ball and should not have.
Right back to the mound. Arroyo handles the first 2 grounders of the inning, and now the Mets are down to their final out of the night. Daniel Murphy will try and keep it going. Murphy had the last Met hit, and the only solid hit they've had tonight. They've had just 3 singles. A flare by the pitcher Nieve, a bunt by Reyes, and a solid single to center by Murphy. And a fastball strike, 0-1. The Mets were never able to advance a runner past first base. And now Arroyo 1 out away from a shutout. Mets have only hit 5 balls to the outfield tonight. And there's another one, and Murphy has his 2nd hit of the night. And so the Mets are alive in the bottom of the ninth. Their 4th hit of the game. And Murphy has half of them. David Wright will come to the plate.
The ILTV pitch differential wanted that down and in. Try to jam Murphy. He did jam him enough, but strong enough to get that in the outfield for his second base hit.
David Wright is 0 for 3 tonight. He's hit 2 balls hard. If he can get aboard, then Jeremy Reed could come to the plate as the tying run. And Wright takes a strike. 111 pitches now for Arroyo. Flanagan setting up away. And it's in the dirt, 1-1. Not sure why Votto is holding against Murphy. The all-star closer for the Reds, Francisco Cordero, is up in the bullpen in case Arroyo needs ninth inning help. 1-1 to David Wright. And he dribbles it foul, and now the Mets are down to their final strike. Arroyo has thrown as many as 123 pitches in a game this year. He did that back in May in Arizona. He's ahead on Wright, 1-2. Jeremy Reed hoping for a turn next. 2-2. Breaking ball struck him out, and the ball game is over. Bronson Arroyo with his second career shutout, a 4-hitter. No walks, 5 strikeouts, and the Mets have been shut out for the 3rd time in less than a week.
Well, the Mets made a big trade today, but boy, they're going to